Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Dave, Gamers World resident card game expert. And it's that time of year again, guys. New set only a couple times a year. Feels like this is the video I'm doing most often at the moment. But we have Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, new Magic set, and new Dungeons and Dragons product, kind of. Highly anticipated. The kind of crossover finally of Magic going into the actual world of Dungeons and Dragons. Of course, there's been references over years. Of course, Magic was just a game to initially play, another fantasy game to play in between long games of D&D. So this is kind of a complete circle, but I think people have really been hyped for this and finally seeing a lot of their favorite characters come to life in a different way in D&D. This is a pre-release pack. Today we are going to be opening this, and I'm going to show you how I'd go about building a pre-release deck. We haven't got to play pre-releases in over a year now, and I would just like to show some of the new players coming in, especially if you play D&D and are new kind of to Magic, or if you're like a lapsed Magic player who's come back because of D&D, how you can go about building a pre-release deck for when events come back, or you can purchase these in our store on Jervis Street or on our website, gamersworld.ie. The links will be below in below the video, and you can buy them there. But these are really nice things just to buy a couple of and play with your friends. We've had a lot of customers do that already, and something I'd highly recommend because I'm missing pre-releases, guys. Definitely one of my favorite parts of the year, and it's been there's been no replacement for normal Magic. You have stuff like Arena, but there hasn't been a great replacement, I think, for the feeling of a pre-release. One of the best things in Magic. But we're gonna open this up. Let me show you the product. There's always something kind of slightly new, I think, about these pre-release products. Let's just open them up. And that's one part of it. So I always find a new mechanism. They never keep the pre-release boxes the same way twice. This is a new mechanism kind of again. Nice box. But this is important. There's lots of cards in this set that require you to roll a d20. And for those actually nerds out there, my people, a d20 is different to a spin down. Because in a spin down, what you'd usually have here is the numbers starting at 20, and you could easily spin down to 18, 19, 19, 18, 17, so forth. But that makes it easy kind of to cheat with the dice. You can just roll it very like gently so to make it land on certain numbers. So a d20 has numbers all on kind of different sides. And I was a little bit scared when they made this product and they referred to rolling d20s in a bunch of the cards that they wouldn't fix this. And you'd have to explain to people, because that's not a nice experience going, oh, don't roll that. That's not proper. That's not the rules. You'd hate to have to accuse people who have no intention of cheating into cheating. So I'm really glad they have a very nice d20. And that's also very different. Like, this might be a little bit collectible because the rest of them are going to be spin downs, right? Okay, so for a pre-release, you always get, or nearly always get, 6 packs, your promo, little deck divider, and they've taken recently to having these, which are just little guides, new mechanics. This runs you through how to do the dungeons, which we'll get to, and how to build a deck. But we'll go through that in this video, so you guys don't need to see that right now. You get 6 packs, and you get your promo pack. So firstly, let's open the promo pack. We got an Instrument of Bards here. Mediocre card, I think. If you have it in your pre-release, it's kind of, maybe it's better in sealed than draft. I've only really got to play draft because it's very grindy. But you get something very cool under this. You get foil dungeons. They're tokens on the other side, and the tokens are the tokens that correspond to other dungeons. So they've designed that very well. And I'm not sure if you can get this in other products. Maybe you can get it in the collector boosters. I haven't seen that yet. But this is a pretty special reason, I think, to get at least one pre-release pack. Just have 3 foil dungeons for when Paper Magic comes back, I think. So that's pretty cool, I think. Now we're going to open our packs, and we're going to organize our packs by color, and we're going to quickly go through the decisions I make to see what kind of color I'll be at a pre-release. Let's open these up. Ooh. Now, not as enthusiastic maybe as I've been in other days for opening these packs. You'll have to excuse me a little. I've been opening packs all day for singles for the store in Jervis Street. So if you're looking for some D&D singles, we are selling them in store again. Kind of these pack. The rare is pretty good, so let's organize these into color. And we got some removal, which is something that's very key to look out for. We have some removal, and we have some decent like uncommons, some tricksy uncommons. Don't know if anyone has noticed this. The lands have flavor text in this set. I'm still, jury's still out for me if that's nice or not. It's kind of confusing me a little bit online, at least, because they look like they have abilities. So you have to keep checking, like, oh, did they play a creature land? So again, if you want to see a video where I talk about the cards maybe a little more, there's also going to be a video of me doing that and opening a set booster box. But for this video, I'm just going to less focus on what the cards do and the mechanics and more how I go about building a pool to demonstrate for people who haven't. If you just want to, hear me talk about what I think about the cards and what's good in the set, check out the set booster video that will be put up on this channel as well, the opening. And I'm going to be opening at least one of each of the products. That includes a collector booster box as well. And I don't know if I'll do a booster box. Set booster box and booster boxes are very similar. I don't know if we need to do a video for both. Let me know in the comments if you like it, if there's like a difference for you in me opening them. I always think this is so funny. I don't know if you, because the flavor text goes, and that kind of way in the bottom, I always think it's crimped. It's so funny. My eyes see like a crimp. If you guys know what a crimp is, it's like marking at the end of the teeth of the cutting machine for a magic card. I'm always like, is that crimped? Which sometimes can be worth money. Miscuts can be worth money. So far, a little unexceptional. I think Monk class is probably quite strong in sealed. But that's a kind of feature of this set, I think. I think a lot of things are unexceptional in this set. And that's because power level of previous sets have been so high. And then in this set, I don't think they brought it down too much. I wouldn't say it's like awful. But I think there is a noticeable difference. Ooh, this is a bomb though. Ranger's class is hot. So I don't think the set is too bad. I don't want to say that for sure. But I think the set is possibly a little underpowered compared to the last couple sets. And maybe that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. The Strixhaven wasn't that strong. Like, this is something a lot of people are saying. Strixhaven wasn't like insanely strong or anything. I'm liking these D&D kind of promos. They're growing on me. Initially, its lack of color in anywhere but the actual background was kind of tilting. But I get 2 in 1 pack, right? Ooh, Grandmaster of Flairs. I think this is a very good card in Limited. Also unconstructed, possibly, but the fact that I can just lock down a creature forever. I don't think we've opened one of the uncommon that goes with it, which is a 1-drop which you can search, which obviously makes them a lot better. But I think like just pulsing infinitely and turning him into a dragon eventually is kind of good enough. Would really like to open the uncommon for my bomb there. Still getting used to a new camera layout, guys, so very sorry if I mess up and point something off screen for a second. Ooh, and a very nice land. I think this land cycle is going to be really good and constructed. And very good and limited. Okay, so we're going to have a look through our colors here, and we're going to try and see what's kind of good. What has removal, what has hard to deal with creatures, flyers, bombs, such like this. That's a weird way to say that sentence. And we're going to importantly take out what I would call chaff. Cards I don't want to end up in my deck. So I'm going to have a quick look through red, which has some fine cards. Some of these are borderline. I would call Act of Treason, or this is called Price of Loyalty this time, but Act of Treason effects poor unless I have a bunch of combinations with it. This is a card where I would say, and this happens a lot to newer players, just because it's rare and does something a bit more complex, people are going to over-evaluate this card. It only has 3 toughness. It trades down. It dies to Dragonfire in the 4-man. It is just only fine. But people will see the rare symbol and the complexity of the card and really buy into this is a good reason to be in a color. It is fine and it's a good card, but it isn't like a heavy reason to be in a color. And red in general has like a fine piece of removal, some decent creatures. Is the epitome of fine here. But we wouldn't be that unhappy playing red. And we have some red multicolor cards possibly. And we have we can put Den of the Bugbearer, actually, the creature land, into that pile. Because that is a good reason to be in red, I think. That is a very good creature land. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure on this card unless you have things worth protecting. We can put it in the playable pile for now. Blue has a bunch of cards like that. I was about to say, like Shocking Grasp, I think is the best one, where I'm not terribly unhappy to be playing Shocking Grasp, but do I want to put it in my playable pile? I'm unsure. This is certainly not. I think these effects are a bit misleading and they look good, but they're so temporary. They're like bad combat tricks, I think, a lot of the time. Beast is extremely good though. And I think these creatures, so there's a couple of these kind of creatures that have the roll effect when you pay. I think they're better in sealed than they are in draft. I think in draft they're pretty mediocre, but in sealed they're fantastic mana sinks. It's a 2-drop that trades early or has effects late. But overall, blue, again, kind of medium. Just absolutely fine. If we ended up in red blue here, I wouldn't be like super sad, but I'm not like, yeah, this pool's sick, you know. Now, white we know had at least one bomb in it. We have a piece of filler here anyway. Fine card. Here's our bomb in white. L Blinkers is fine. I think this card actually plays out very well because of its flexibility. Unicorn's fine. I think this is fine. Yeah, white also fine. I think Grandmaster, maybe it's hard calling him a bomb if he doesn't have a creature to search up, but just keeps icing down creatures until he's a big dragon. It's absolutely fine. A piece of removal in each of the colors so far. So any combo we end up in, we're going to end up with at least 1 or 2 pieces of removal, and that's really nice. Now you could probably count the Grandmaster as a kind of soft removal as well. I'm not a big fan of this card. Even if you have some treasure, I think you have to have a lot of it for it to be good. Fane is fine. Skellies are fine. I think Check Traps actually doesn't work out that well in the format, but it's decent sideboard. This card I'm not that happy with. Probably fine and sealed, but in general I think is a bit lackluster. Reaper's Talisman is very good though. And so is Thieves' Tools, actually. Because it accelerates you into a 4-drop and then, you know, creates massive threats or creates fast threats later. And I don't think this card's a bomb, Paladin, but I do think it's very good. It's very close to being a bomb, I think, but it scales kind of poorly into the late game at times when you can't make treasure off it. So I still think it's good and a reason to be in black. This is a hard pool to build though, and it's not because I like all my choices are great. It's because all my choices are medium. It means like I have to really know what I want to be in here. I think green, a little medium. That Plummet I think is actually main deckable. Threw it away too fast. And so is Wild Shape. So green's kind of medium, except probably has decent removal in Ranger class. So I might end up in that just because Ranger class seems to be like the best thing my deck is doing. Let's have a look if anything else is helping our decision here. I think Dungeon Map is probably always playable. I think Dagger is only good if you have Death Touch creatures to go with Dagger. That's the only combo, something you have to be sure of. And Rope I think is fine as well. Probably better in Sealed again than it wasn't Draft. We have some basics here. Don't have to worry about them. I'm in sorting mode after sorting all the singles today. Same. We actually put these separately. They're all fine. Just makes green a little bit better. These are 2 fine green cards. This is a medium black card. And then let's look if our multicolor helps us out. But I don't think it does that much. These are 2 combos I don't think I really want to end up in. I think I probably want to be green-red or green-white possibly. But they're both very good cards. So we'll have a look. I'm going to line out my green first because it has the strongest feeling there. I'm going to look at green, white, green, red, I think. And maybe red, white if I have time as well in the video. But you should always do this. You should always go through the motions and try. I'm not going to try every combination. And you probably shouldn't if you're at a pre-release either. But you want to try a lot of combinations. Unfortunately, our pool being so even, I'm not going to... Usually I eliminate a color by now. I'm like, this has no removal. This is obviously not the color I want to be in. But I don't think there's an obviously about this, which means we should probably be looking for decks that we think work well together. Let's have a quick look. We do have an Evolving Wilds, which means that splashing things can be easier. But none of our cards look particularly splashable either. Treasures in this set as well also mean that splashing is kind of easy. So let's just set aside these cards and have a look at our green first and see what its pros and cons are. This is a medium playable. I think I'll leave it on the sideline for now. Same with this. It's not even fixing. I'm not the biggest fan of this card. In limited, though, it might make constructed splash. This card's impressed, actually. 7/6. Got some removal. Rangers is a genuine bomb. You don't have that much gain life, but Venturing gains life. We have an untapped card. I think Plummet is actually just playable. I think slightly out of focus with the cards here. Let's just make sure you can see them all. So let me check the camera. Just jostled slightly. Perfect. Okay. Green has like a solid creature base, but nothing really to kind of phone home about. Like the troll, while it's a fancy border and looks like it has a strong effect, I think actually doesn't play out that well. It just trades down so easily, and then having to use the mana to bring it back is only good late game. Ranger's Guile is great, but I don't think it's the most splashable card, because you want it early, and splashable doesn't always mean you can have these things early. But some fine removal. We have multiple ways to... we have with Find the Path and our artifacts that are in the sideboard we can introduce later. We have multiple ways to venture into the dungeon, which is a weird mechanic. We also have the Outlander, which ventures into a dungeon that helps them tap the Roper. I think this is fine. It looks like a decent base. Its curve is good. It has removal. It has strong creatures. It has ways to finish the game. That's all I can really ask for. But we're hoping for a bit stronger. This is looking, just from first glance, like our strongest color, though. So let's have a look at red real quick. So red has its land. So I wouldn't say Unexpected Windfall is like the best card in the format. I do think in Sealed it's going to perform pretty well. Helps you with your fixing if you're splashing a color. I think that just in a game of Sealed, preventing a flood, which that card does. I know it makes 2 treasures, so that's not intuitive, but the throwing away lands is big. I'm kind of liking aspects of red here. It's kind of shallow. This is all the cards we have for it. We could play a couple things like the Boots of Speed, depending on how many playables we need at the end. But I'm really liking Critical Role and just another piece of removal here. Kind of goes with the beatdown plan. The Morningstar is going to be very good on my green creatures if I decide to play that deck. So we have some little synergies like that. Besides that, 2 pieces of removal looks fine. Adequate creatures and a good trick. Like, maybe that's just what complements green the best. You get the upside again of the creature land, which is no small upside. And then finally, we're going to look... I think we'll look at one more color. I'm going to quickly flick through again. I think blue is a little mundane. Let's actually look through white. And we'll have a look through black as well. That's just for time purposes. I'm going to cut blue. That might be a mistake. Maybe blue is more playable than I'm giving it credit for. But looking at all the color combos is a little bit tough in a short video. And it's even a little bit tough at a pre-release. Like, don't be afraid to shortcut a little bit at pre-release and then look again in between rounds. If you're at a pre-release here in the store, you can always change your deck in between rounds. It's not like a GP or a bigger tournament where that's not allowed. Okay, so this probably deck has some of the most generically good cards. Like just Grandmaster, the Flyers, the Priest of the Ancient Lore is just good. Has 1 removal spell. Do I feel like this is comboing best with our green? I don't know. I don't think so. Master is just good. So that argument could be made that we should just be playing what is arguably the best card in our pool. But our creatures are a bit generic. Green already has generic creatures. Do we need more of that? I don't think so. We have a little bit of venture here, but it's not a major mechanic. It's not playing a big role in our deck. We don't have any venture payoffs besides the fact that you're getting card advantage from going through the dungeon, obviously. So I think I'm going to say no to white. Because while it doesn't definitely have to go with our green, I think green has so far been the strongest color. Again, I could be discarding 2 colors here in blue and white, but maybe there's a monk class here. Maybe there's a blue-white deck. I just don't have time to go through every iteration. Because this is a very cool deck to build. I'd love to hear in the comments what you have to say. Take a second, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and tell me what you would have built. Would really like to know, because this is one I would have at a pre-release I would have spent a lot of time on. I think up to the last couple of minutes running to the land station, and black I think can just get cut here. There's just not enough playables. They're also not strong enough. Besides the paladin, like I think both our white and our blue might have actually looked better than this now that I've laid it out and kind of had a look at it. Talisman is appealing, but everything else kind of isn't. I'm also not a big fan of the Beholder or the Beholder removal spell at 6. So let's try red green. Let's see if our instincts were correct with these. Some nice removal and combat tricks. Some card draw for red, which is kind of missing. I guess the dwarf is a pretty bad 2-drop. We have a couple ways to roll, but not that many. A plummet. Find a path. We also might just be running out of like top end here a little bit. Like I said, we're a beatdown deck, but we don't have that much in the top end. I do that. Can you guys hear that over the camera? I'm such a card snapper. I'm forever doing that. Be more gentle with the cards. This is actually looking okay, I think. Now that's laid out, I think this is absolutely fine. We have 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we have to make some cuts here. I'm probably looking at some of the combat tricks. I don't think the rapier actually works that well in the deck. I think the bull strength's a little bit better considering we have a roper. And then there'll be one more. Actually, I would say the bull strength is actually getting the cut as well. I think our creatures are kind of big enough. There's a chance I should be cutting the roper here because we don't have too many ways to untap him, but I think there's enough ways. He only has to attack a couple times. If I can't attack with him, he's absolutely fine at blocking. So this is 6, 10, 11, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is 23. This is perfect. You could argue you could play one less land because you have Find a Path. That's mana acceleration. But I like this. I think this combines these two colors best. We have also this creature land. We could add like this map, but I think we're being too aggressive to really stop and venture. We could maybe cut a land down to 16, and between Find a Path and the map, we have these late game venture cards that are also a land. But I don't think we need to get too overcomplicated, especially with a den being a mana sink for us in the first place. But this is like a lot of the basics we're going over. We've ended up with a nice curve, good removal. We have some card selection and windfall. You don't want to get flooded. I find a lot of new players who complain about flood maybe don't consider what their deck is doing on turn, 12 and above when the games go late and sealed. What this deck I think is missing a little bit is like a finisher in that regard. Speaking of the game going late, we're aggressive. We're trying to win mid games. We have critical role to try and really steal games, especially with our tramplers, with Mornstar and the Giant Duke. But if the game goes a bit further than that and they stabilize and their creatures are matching our creatures, we have nothing but drawing a good removal spell to kind of get us out of that situation. And you'll find that a lot in sealed. But I think we have enough tricks and removal. Hopefully we'll bust through those, or our creatures are just a little bit too big to have those situations come up. I guess the Loadsome Troll helps with that a lot in the very late game for green decks in this format. So maybe I'm underestimating that card a little for sealed. So this is definitely what I make out of our red and green cards. But I'm a bit too curious now to end the video on that note. I want to have a quick look at our blue-white deck and just see if I've left something a little bit behind here with my first assumptions. Because I think blue-white had some quality cards. A couple cards for Unicorn here. Blink Dog's a great boy. An absolute fantastic boy. Just an absolute pupper. Yeah, we're leaving some of our good cards in the trash here. Especially this Monk class and this Master of Flowers. So we have some decent venture. So the upside to this deck is we have some decent venture. We have a really good bomb in the Master of Flowers. And we have some okay removal. We have counter spells, which I don't count fully as removal. And we have just tap effects, which can be got around. So I wouldn't call tap effects like Charm Sleep soft removal, but it certainly isn't hard removal either. It's somewhere in the middle there. Besides that, we'd have to probably make some cuts here. How many are we looking at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. A lot of cuts. So I think just quickly, the Guide is an excellent card. Good blocker, good attacker. Its stats can't be underestimated for a flyer for 2 mana. But I think you need some roll effects. I don't think it's what we're looking for in this deck. I think my other 2-drops are good and synergize with other things, and I like my creature base besides that. So I just start cutting a bunch of these spells, because we have a lot of like medium spells here, I think. I don't think we're a Trickster's Talisman deck. It has some nice synergy with some of our come into play effects, but I don't think that's enough. And that's kind of tough besides that. We could keep you come to a river into the sideboard, I think. And then we're looking at 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's 22, and I think this deck is a dungeon map deck because it has a little bit more venture, and it's like a nice late game thing to kind of ramp us into. Besides that, also our 5 and 6 drops are really nice ahead of curve, so going 3 to 5 or 6 are really good. The same thing was true of the red deck. I think this is a better plan to kind of win a late game with, say, the Apprentice or some other stuff, or Panther coming back into play, Displacement, Beast coming back into play, along with the dungeon map. That kind of all synergizes together. Where the red deck, I don't think, can win a late game that reliably. This has a better plan. It can just venture someone kind of out of the game. I think this was a great example as well of what you should do in a pre-release. You should look at different combos. And just because a color is good doesn't mean it has to be your main color. So white looked the best color probably for me, but I think the red-green deck looked better overall as a deck. That's cool to get to show you guys that because that happens often and at higher levels. That's really important. What's nice about a pre-release is, I told you already, if you're sick of that red-green deck, switch to the blue-white one in between rounds. That's perfectly legal. Or you can get the sideboard into it. If you decide you have 2 decks, you can sleep both of them up and kind of bamboozle your opponent by changing decks between rounds. But this is how I would build a pre-release usually, a little bit on a fast-forward mode because I didn't want to overload people in this video. But thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, give us a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me what you want to see. Do you just want to see more openings? We've also done board games on the site, and we'll have plenty of more, including RPG kind of rundowns, more board game reviews, and reviews of more Magic sets. And of course, everyone's favorite, opening more product. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.